Hello and welcome to the Time for AI podcast, the podcast that brings you the best AI conference speakers and allows them to sum up their presentation in 5 minutes. My name is Peter, and as always, I'll be moderating this talk. If you're interested into what is happening on conferences and what is the up thing on AI all around the world, this is the podcast for you. I know if you think that you want to help this podcast, the easiest way of what you can do is just follow this podcast, subscribe to get all of the future episodes, and also if you leave a review, that sounds like a great thing. Today on the podcast, we have Gael. Gael is going to talk to us about his presentation at ShopTalk Europe. Gael, hello and welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much, Peter. Nice to be with you today.
It's great having you here. Gael, you work at Shalion and you are the strategic marketing, you do strategic marketing there. Can you tell us a bit more about what the company does and what do you do there?
Yes, absolutely. So Shalion is a marketing intelligence company supported by a big tech stack. And our mission is to help brands to take the opportunity, capture the opportunities that have been created by the digitalization of commerce, which means basically now, with this digitalization, you have the possibility to have a almost live tracking of all the KPIs that enable you to perform. And we do this across all types of e-commerce channel, e-retail, marketplace, aggregators like Uber Eats, Deliveroo, for stores, restaurants. So we enable brands to really track all their important KPIs across all the places that where you can distribute products. And my mission there as a VP strategic marketing is to help building the vision for the next steps of the product, and also to be to drive the marketing positioning of the company across on our different touch points, and notably across the events.
Doing or being the VP for marketing in a company that does marketing and AI, probably the fastest moving fields currently. How do you keep your head in there? On one hand, understand what are all of the new things, and on the other hand, not look at every shiny new thing and just sticking to your path. How do you do that?
Keeping updated is part of my mission. I consider this is like this. So obviously, I listen to podcasts like yours, and also follow a certain number of newsletters. Now, with AI, you can get summaries. So also, I'm a big user of Notebook LM when I don't have the time. And but I think it's having the right balance between delivering your work and at the same time keeping updated. But obviously, AI is very entrenched in our product, because we have just released, for example, a chatbot that enables now to consume data not only through SaaS dashboard, but directly by asking questions. So this is something that we have been working now for a while. And definitely now, we are just going to talk about this, but AI is about to revolutionize e-commerce. And this is obviously something we have to keep to be very aware of, because to help our customers, planning forward their activities, this is something that we have to do.
I invited you to the podcast because you had a great presentation at ShopTalk Europe conference in Barcelona. How was the conference? How did you see that? How did you like it?
I love the vibe there. I would have loved to attend to more conferences, but we had actually many customers and prospects coming to our booth. So we were very often more in one-to-one discussions than actually assisting to that many conferences. But however, the vibe was great, and I could feel like there are many innovations on the market, AI driven or not, and which are really exciting for the evolution of our industry.
Yeah, it really sounds like the place to be if you want to see everything that's going on.
Yes.
Your presentation was called Rethinking the Digital Shelf, How AI is Changing the Game for Brands. Before I let you into your summation, could you define what the digital shelf is and how do you see it?
Yes, absolutely. So the shelf, if you take in the old, which is still there, offline world, is basically where you find the product, where the product are displayed for the shoppers to purchase, right? The digital shelf is the digital version of it that you find in the e-commerce sites. So it's basically how e-retailers are presenting products to you. The difference between the offline world is that offline it was, two-dimensional, and you could build a planogram, according to where your product is, you sell more or less. Here it's mostly vertical, it's one dimensional. So you have list of products that you can find through the menu and through the shelf, through the search, sorry. So you have a search with the keyword, which is normally on the top, and on the left you have the categories of your products. Other differences is that you have also a product detail page when you click on any other products, and you have much more content that you can see on your product, including the reviews and the feedback from the customers. And of course, you have all the retail media, which is added on top. So for us, the digital shelf, it's all these all together. And basically, this is our mission is really to provide the KPIs to improve, to maximize actually your brand visibility and performance across these KPIs.
Okay, yeah, understood. All right, I think this is the time for you to go and sum up your presentation. Gael, here are your 5 minutes.
Yes, thank you very much. So basically, the digital shelf is being revolutionized because you have a new way of shopping, which is not there yet, but it's moving very fast, which is actually enabled by these generative engines methodologies. And basically, there are tools that are already on the market, like Rufus for Amazon and Sparky for Walmart, where actually instead of using keywords, you would use real question, and there would be a semantic analysis of that. Beyond this, all the main generative engines like ChatGPT, Perplexity, which has been the pioneer on that, have an AI mode that enable to select product, to get a selection of product according to the need that you describe. And you know that Google is also on it, and many others. Beyond this, there are also other type of methodologies which are mostly made by the same persons, which are agents that would, instead of just proposing to you product, directly making a bulk selection of products, for example, for a recipe, or I don't know, you go for hiking, you need some materials for that, and they are going to be able to propose to you a full list of products and purchase them for you and even make the checkout. So all these methodologies are there. They are, you can make some tests and you can, only the checkout is not there yet, but this is something you can see all around announcements about this coming very soon. Now the question for brands is, okay, you have made all your work to be present, to be on the top of the search, on the menus. And this is algorithmic, basically. This is what we call SEO, search engine optimization. And now there is a new science which is coming, a new practice, which is GEO, Generative Engine Optimization. How do you get listed on these, and recommended by these tools? And the big thing is that it's not because you are good in SEO that you are going to be good in GEO, because they don't have exactly the same criteria. They don't use exactly the same sources. They are based on, machine learning. And so that's quite different. It's not a simple algorithm. So there is a new practice and, let's say, skills that the brands have to develop to be present on these, visible on these tools. So I would say this is the main the main part of my of my presentation. But then there is the question about, okay, what brands should start doing? Because even if it's emerging, there are still things that you can do. And basically, we have listed 3 types of action that can be done. The first one is play with Amazon Rufus. Start understanding what are the questions, and there are ways on the Amazon site to understand which type of questions, because they are displayed actually on the site directly. So there are some questions that you can see that are related to your product. And then try to work on the PDP to understand what can influence it. The second one is on ChatGPT to start understanding what are the sources that is being used by ChatGPT to define which products are being selected. And we can talk about that, but there are It's quite different on what we are used on e-commerce. On the third one, work on your brand site to make it accessible to agents, like the MCP protocol. And I think this is something that has to be started quite quickly, because if it requires coordination with quite an amount of people, in the tech, in the security. And for that, making sure that actually you are agent ready is something important, because one of the source can be your brand site if it's easy to connect to.
Okay, excellent. These are a couple of excellent points. I have a couple of questions, as always. We have, it seems that there are two different ways of how chatbots are now giving answers. And it seems that those are the two different ways of how brands should approach GEO, or, generic,
Generative Engine Optimization.
that thing. I used to do SEO a while ago, and I was mostly in SEO before I started with the AI. It seems that on one hand, ChatGPT just uses Bing or a regular search engine, looks at the search result, and then gives you results. And then comes the new way of how ChatGPT is going to build its own way of how to find product. If nothing else, we have heard about the announcement Shopify integration into ChatGPT, right? The first part, it seems that the regular SEO being ranked high is already enough, but for the second part, we don't really know what are the criteria to be up there. Am I right? Or
So for the first part, I think the main question is to see, okay, they use Bing or whatever the browser, but you're right. I mean, that's what we hear as well. Okay, but where do they go to find information? And the good news is that if you ask, and for example, for a headset with noise cancellation for travel, it's going to give you a list of products. It's going to explain you why, and it's going to tell you where they have found information. And that's very interesting, because you find e-commerce site. So as you say, being well listed there can help. Even if, for example, we have seen that some generative engine don't like, for example, sponsored product. So sometimes they are even actually ignored. But beyond this, they use also other source of information. It can be, according to your industry, specialists, like, for example, magazines that are testing the product. They like it a lot because it can be considered a trusted source. They use also sources like forums, and it includes social networks like Reddit and YouTube. And that's quite new for the brands, because, of course, they take care of what is said about them. But the thing is that the direct selection of product can be influenced by what is being said in Reddit. Which means that for brands now, they have to think about their visibility strategy, not only on e-commerce sites, but also not only on Google, but also on these type of social networks, because they are there, and actually the discussion that are there can influence the selection of ChatGPT. Okay, so I think this is the first point. So about the point of, okay, you are good on SEO, you will be good on GEO, yes, but let's look at the sources exactly that are being used on your industry, so that you can see exactly what you have to influence there. And for the second part, which is, okay, so there is this more and more this agentic interaction that this engine can have directly with Shopify or other retailers. Other retailers we don't know yet, because some have really the strategy to hide everything, like Amazon. That's more what they do. Some are open, like Walmart. they are. So let's see how it's going to work. But yes, they are going to access to this e-commerce site also and look at what the product that are there, and they can have access to the PDP there. But for me, it's not a radical change. Let's say this is part of the search that they have. So at the end, the generative engine is going to make a summary and make the recommendation based on all these sources, on all these things that they have been looking for. So For me, the main thing for a brand in terms of practical work is really to understand what are the main sources and then what strategy to influence it. Knowing that what I talked about, about the MCP, about the brand site is also important because basically you need to have a consistent content across the different the different relay of information that you can find on the web.
I was looking recently at your LinkedIn and I saw the post where you were quoting, I think that was from SEMrush, a study when they're showing on which websites are mostly quoted by Google, ChatGPT, and Perplexity. And the list goes Reddit, Wikipedia, YouTube, Google, and then Yelp. It seems that, I also somehow feel that we're moving even more to the bigger websites from which the AIs are going to get their sources, right? It used to be, when we were looking at Google, it seems that Google was still trying to get small sites high in search results from time to time, but now we have moved back to the really big ones, maybe making it harder for smaller players to be there or show themselves at the top?
Yes. The thing is that according to the question on the industry, the sources can be a bit different. For example, I tried to look for some pasta for recipes, and it was also going to some small premium groceries, very local, that were there because I had said, okay, I want to get delivered to my address. And it was looking also to some more, let's say, smaller sites. So it's a bit of a mix. And really, I think it really depends on your category in the industry where you are. Because they are more or less, the source are more or less, I would say, relevant according to your category. Now, where I go to your point still is that, okay, if you take ChatGPT, for example, the recommendation you are going to have between 3 and max 7 products which are recommended for you. And if you are a bigger brand or a known brand, you have more chances to be selected. So you're right, for a small emerging brands, being one of these 3 to 7 products which are recommended is going to be a bigger challenge than when you had a bigger shelf. In Amazon, it's better to be on the first page and it's even better to be on the top 3, but still there is possibility to find you a little bit further. If now the work is being done ahead by the generative engine, what chances do you have to be really present? That's the next step.
Technical SEO was a very important part of SEO. You've mentioned being available for generative AI tools is also important. How different is having a website that Google can read to having a website that ChatGPT agent can use to, do a booking directly on your website?
It's not very different, but still what you have to make sure of when you want to be like MCP ready and agent ready is to have a full list of your portfolio. And I think beyond that is to make sure that your product is linked to the questions you want to answer. So having a Q&A session for each of your product, explaining exactly what it is made for and also what are its different types of attribute and usage is going to be very important, which is something that normally brands have already done. I mean, they know the positioning of each product, but really here, what you have to make sure of is that really you make it very clear for the agent. So this means more questions, also more Q&A, so that really there is this, this link being done and understandable by the agent itself.
All right. Okay. Gael, if people want to talk to you more about the digital shelf and how it is changing, do you have future conferences planned?
So the future conferences is going to be Commerce Connected in in London, and then there is one, the Benelux one, which is in Amsterdam. So it's going to be mid-October and November. But also I have colleagues going to grocery shop in Las Vegas, and they know well the topic. So if you come to the Shalion booth, you are always going to be very well received.
Okay. And of course, people can find you on LinkedIn and
Yes, absolutely.
other places.
Absolutely.
All right. Gael, thank you very much for being a guest on the podcast and enlightening us about how the digital shelf is changing and what companies should be doing to stay on top of selling in the future. Have a great day.
Thank you, Peter. Have a great day.